So going back to your college days, what is your fondest and best memory you have here at SUNY Brockport?
We had planned a hip hop concert. And we signed this guy from Queens that everybody probably knows by now by the name of 50 Cent.
Like, you will have the time of your life here. I almost guarantee it.
Welcome back to another episode of Tour the Nest podcast. Today, I'm with a Brockport alumni who is a current content creator on TikTok and Instagram with over 500K followers on both platforms.
Hey, I'm Mike. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So just give us a little bit of a background of you. So you are alumni of SUNY Brockport.
Yes.
Why did you want to come to Brockport?
Honestly, I didn't.
Yeah.
Right. Like originally I wanted to go to another school like out in the Midwest. And when that application fell through, I realized I needed somewhere to go to college. So I went on like a 4 SUNY state like college tour and literally fell in love with Brockport. Like the town was beautiful. The size fit perfectly coming from New York City where everything's busy all the time. This was definitely a huge difference. So it wasn't the first plan, but it worked out incredibly.
It worked out for you.
Yeah.
So while you were a student here at SUNY Brockport, what was your major? And then were you involved with like any clubs, organizations on campus while you were here?
So I was an international business major with a Spanish minor. And I did some work with BSG. I didn't really work. I wasn't really on any clubs or anything. I did a semester abroad. I lived in Costa Rica for a semester studying Spanish, which was incredibly dope. It was just, I always loved Brockport. Brockport is always like a warm place in my heart. Yeah.
And so you said you're from New York City.
Correct.
And so how did you find out about Brockport? Just because it's quite a ways away from New York City. So how did you find out about it when you were applying to colleges?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I want to say there was some like guide, like paper, with a variety of different schools and what they offered and so on and so forth. And I wanted something that was different than New York, right? Like the totally different vibe, different atmosphere. So I think I literally just like picked like 1, 2, 3, 4. And I honestly I don't think we went to Buffalo. So I want to say this was the furthest one that we went to when we looked at schools. And I don't think that had anything to do like, all right, I'm going to get as far away from New York as possible. But it was random marketing luck, I guess. Yeah.
So you're in New York City now. You moved back home to New York City?
Yeah. I mean, I've been there my whole life.
Your whole life.
Other than living here for college, I've been in New York my whole life.
Okay. And so what are you doing now in New York City? So let's talk a little bit about like your content creating and stuff like that. So if you want to tell the audience, like, what do you have on your Instagram and TikTok? Like, what do you focus on?
So I'm a food experience, family travel creator, New York City and beyond. So we do a lot of all of that. So, kind of falls under that like lifestyle umbrella. My wife runs the back end of the business and I have an 8-year-old son who creates content with me.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, anything from incredible places to eat to family fun travel to, jumping out of planes.
Yeah. And going everywhere. Yeah. Okay. So, was content creating something you always had like in the back of your mind? Obviously, like the times have changed and social media has grown and become more influential over the past couple of decades. But was it something that you always had in mind and something that you were always interested in, or did it just kind of like pop up one day?
It wasn't always something. It kind of did just pop up one day. Like it was probably about 9 years ago. Okay. And at that point I was a real estate broker and nobody really shared real estate information for whatever reason. It was always held very close to the chest. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm like, so let me teach myself how to edit, and started creating content and putting it out on my own. And I've had a couple of pivots off of what I've created to get to this current iteration. This being now just about 5 years, like this what we put out today. And it's been a little over 2 years that we do this full time. it's just been an evolution, like anything, right? Like what you like today isn't what you liked 5 years ago or, you know, when you were a kid. So it's just really trying to do the things that I want to do. Like, you know, so many people like, all right, I'm going to work all these years so I can retire. So then I can do what I want to do. And I'm going to do what I want to do now. Yeah. And you know, the beauty is we live in a world where we don't watch TV anymore. We watch people on our phones, on apps, right? That's the new TV.
Right.
So, you know, you can do what feels genuine to you and people see it, right? You find your tribe, and that's the beauty of where we are in the world today.
Yeah. And so you said now you do content creation full time now.
Yeah.
And so what was the transition like from doing, you know, Instagram, TikTok part-time to then making a big decision to have it go as a full-time job?
So, I've been doing real estate. This is December 2021.
Okay.
My wife was running the back end of that business too, right? And I'm like, I'm done with real estate. And she's like, whoa. And I'm like, no. I'm like, we're going to do content full time. That's it.
Yeah.
And she's like, I think you need a plan. And I'm like, no, I don't need a plan. It'll work out. And by May of that following year, we were making more money doing content than we were doing real estate. Awesome. And I was like, peace.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And then this past January, like I gave up my real estate license totally. So like we're pot committed, all in.
So what is some advice you would give to either current college students, young students who want to pursue social media, but are kind of like scared to take that next step?
Do what feels right to you. Right. Don't think about it as making content, right? Like think about it as you put in a contact and you're giving people the ability to see what your life is like, because that's what we watch, right? If you think about like when we consume content, that's ultimately what we connect with whatever feels right to us. Like, and what feels right to me may be different to you than the producers, right? So it's do what feels real to you and just, you know, record your life.
Yeah.
It sounds simple, but it really is, right? The hard part for a lot of people is putting themselves out there, worrying about what other people think. And I don't know how to teach somebody not to do that. I genuinely don't give a, you know? So like, I think that's an advantage in some aspects, but I think the important part is doing something that you genuinely enjoy. Like, that's not something that our parents were capable of doing. Like our parents' generation had to get a job, had to take care of their family. And it was like, maybe a couple of them were doing things that they loved, but now anybody can. Like if somebody loves cereal, you can make a living making cereal content. Like that's, you know? Yeah.
So can you tell us just a little bit more about like what your day-to-day looks like as a full-time content creator?
Yeah. So, I mean, no 2 days are the same, which is always cool. Like you're not going to the same monotonous thing all the time. But there's a lot that goes into like what we do. And it's not just me and my personal brand. Like we manage social for a bunch of different places. We do some consulting. We curate events. So a lot of times it's dealing with the immediacy of like any business, like the stuff that you have to execute in the next week to, you know, finishing editing, to posting, to planning, to emailing, to going to shoot. Like right before you picked me up, I was like doing a voiceover in the car. So like it can be anything. And the beauty is because most of what I do is from my phone. I can do it anywhere. So I shoot on my phone, I edit on my phone. As long as I have power, I'm able to work.
Good as long as that battery's charged. So what has been your favorite thing that has come out of your content creating? Like what opportunities and stuff have you received from your content?
It's really fun to be able to share with my son, right? To be able to take him places and have him see things and experience things that like I couldn't imagine as a kid, you know, to get on the field, during like an MLS soccer game or like to be backstage at a concert or like, you know, and also to be able to turn it into a business, right? And to try to teach him those values, right? To the point where now like, so like if we're getting paid and he shoots content with us, he gets paid.
Awesome.
Totally his choice, right? He may still have to come, like if we're going out to dinner to shoot or somewhere, like you're 8 years old, like you're not sitting home. but like, we're not forcing him to do anything, but if he decides to be in it, it's up to him. Yeah. So now he's like, well, how much am I making? So like, just to see that, like, and trying to negotiate more money. So to see that in my son, I'm like, that's dope.
Yeah.
Listen, I get to pay to eat and travel. Like, life is incredible. Like, I couldn't ask for anything more. And I get to help small businesses grow in a way that really didn't exist. Mm-hmm. So I feel very blessed to be there. Yeah. But to watch it all through my son is incredible.
That's awesome. So two kind of questions here. First, what has been your favorite food that you've tried? I know you could probably, you'll have to think about that one. But then also your favorite place you've traveled.
Mm-hmm. So like, I'm so bad with this favorite question. Yeah. And I get asked all the time, right? Like, what's your favorite thing? And I don't know, like, I'm a fat kid at heart, right? Like, literally, figuratively, every which way. Like, I love so many different kinds of food. Yeah.
Let's think of it this way. If you went, like, let's say 10 years without this said food, what food do you think, like, you wouldn't be able to last that long without having?
I love beef patties and cocoa bread.
Okay.
I love Jamaica, the country. And probably that.
Okay.
Yeah. There's this place up in the Bronx, Kingston Tropical Bakery, that literally tastes like Jamaica. Okay. And definitely one of my favorite places. So when I started, I used to give things like number gradings. Like, this is a 8.5, 9.0. So there's only been 7 places out of like 500 that have received a perfect 10. Okay. This was one of those. Yeah. Okay. But definitely a beef patty. We'll go with beef patty and cocoa bread.
Okay. And then what's been your favorite place that you've traveled and had the opportunity to experience?
Last October, I was in Puerto Rico on a brand trip. And it was just a very spiritual experience for me. Yeah. The west coast of Puerto Rico is by far, like, I think, an underrated gem. Okay. So like, anything from Aguadilla to Mayagüez, in between there, or Rincon, is just incredible. Like, most people go and they'll go to like Old San Juan, right? Yeah. Get in a car, drive to the West Coast. Like, the difference between like the US East Coast and the West Coast. Yeah, right. So you get that laid back vibe with 80-degree water and just absolute beauty. Yeah. It's insane.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So with content creating, what was kind of the point where you were like, oh, like, I can actually do this? And what had changed? Like, was it a certain video that you made that blew up and then, the followers started coming in, or was it just like a steady increase over time?
So September of 2019, I had fired my videographer, who I had for a year. At that point, I was running a team of 10, so I would take the lessons I was teaching my agents and turn it into content. And I was doing that for with a videographer for about a year, and doing a daily vlog and podcast and all this stuff. And I hated it. And I took a month off and I didn't make anything. And I was still on Instagram, because that's kind of like the phone book, almost like DMing. And I started a TikTok, and I repurposed an Instagram story where I was making fun of one of my agents. And it went viral. It was posted on TikTok and it went viral. Yeah. And it didn't change my world overnight, but it like put me in the algorithm. Yeah. And then slowly just used a lot of the things that I had built up to that point to just create on TikTok, because it was easy, right? I didn't need a videographer. I could do it on my own. I knew how to edit. I did everything in app. It was clip, done, share out to the world. Yeah. And then Corona happened.
Right.
And that's really when things kind of started blowing up, and it was incredible. And then eventually, like, I realized, okay, well, the same stuff I'm putting on TikTok, I need to put everywhere, because the users are different. Like, the person who consumes on Instagram is different than the person that consumes on YouTube Shorts, than TikTok versus whatever it may be. And then that really grew followings across a bunch of platforms, and the rest is kind of history. Like, it wasn't planned, but like, I don't think anybody goes out and intentionally creates content for years without the thought that like this is something that they want to do.
Yeah.
But what I realized is the timeline isn't necessarily what I originally expected. Mm-hmm. But like anything, if you put in enough work at any skill, whatever that skill may be, you'll eventually win. Most people just don't put in enough. They stop because they're like, oh, it didn't happen yet.
Yeah. Do you think consistency is key when it comes to content creating?
I think consistency is the key with anything. Yeah. I think that's what separates the all-time greats from the average Joe. Yeah. Like if you think about baseball, somebody gets into the Hall of Fame for hitting 300, which means 7 times out of 10, they strike out, get out, don't make it, so on. So only 3 out of 10 times, and you're one of the greatest that's ever played the game. Yeah. Yet we don't take that same perspective with everything else that we do. Okay. We're like, oh, this flopped. Oh, this didn't do good. Oh, I mean, that went viral last year. You know, it's anything that you do, if you put in enough effort, you'll win.
So going back to your college days, what is your fondest and best memory you have here at SUNY Brockport? So my senior year, I'm working with student government in their marketing division. And at that point, and I'm assuming it may be similarly true today, I don't know, anything that went on campus went through student government. Student government funded all the clubs, all blah, blah. I mean, the clubs may do things, but it's all coming from student government. So we had planned a concert, a hip hop concert. Okay. And we signed this guy from Queens that everybody probably knows, but now by the name of 50 Cent. Yeah.
Before Get Rich or Die Trying came out.
Okay.
And Get Rich or Die Trying came out, went bananas, doing like almost 1 million sales a week, which at that time was insane. But I got to tell you, it was 50 performed for 1 hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, awesome.
I got to open for him at that point. Like I was like a aspiring rapper.
Oh, awesome.
Which was dope. Got to hang out with him backstage after all. And like literally it was one of the dopest concerts I've been to. His energy was incredible. Yeah. And it was really kind of like the icing on the cake of my college experience.
Yeah. Where did he perform at?
I want to say the ice rink.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like the building like over here.
The Cirque, the fitness facility? Because it didn't used to be there.
Across the street from where we are right now, there's like it used to be a gym. I don't know what it is now.
So there's a building called Tuttle. And that's like where all the sports stuff is.
Right. So to the right side of it was an ice rink.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's actually where the concert was, because there were more. The reason being is there were more outs in that place, because there was one that went out to the side parking lot and then went out the back. So for security purposes, they wanted that. So they sold we sold 3,000 tickets in no time. So I had an idea. I was like, yo, we should make the first 50 tickets 50 cents. Right. And needless to say, there was a line down the whole quad, like all day long. Like those tickets obviously sold out a long time before then, but it was an incredible show. Like people had a great time, you know?
Good. So to go off of celebrities that you've met, so you said you met 50 Cent. Who are some other celebrities that through content creating you've been able to meet, collab with, anything like that?
I mean, maybe not celebrities as much as like a variety of different chefs and restaurateurs that are on like cooking shows and so on and so forth. I mean, you realize very quickly that like celebrities are people just like you and I. Yeah. They just have a lot more money. But I think so the cooler part is more so just being able to DM people now and be like, hey, I have this idea. I'd love to do this, and actually get a response.
Awesome.
You know, so that's definitely
good
what I'm enjoying right now.
So when you were up here at Brockport, what were some of your favorite places to eat around the town? So,
I mean, I would always love Brockport Diner, right? Especially late night, right? Like after you went out. Because it was always open late. It was always a fun environment. I'm imagining it's probably still as lively today. But also another favorite was Taco Bell.
Okay.
And it was in the same place that it's in now. Yeah. Because some things have changed. Like where Burger King is not where Burger King was when I went. Burger King was where Dunkin' Donuts is now.
Okay, yeah.
That used to be Burger King.
Okay.
So Taco Bell, like when I was, I want to say a sophomore, we could probably Google this and figure it out, came out with the chalupa.
Okay.
And it was like the greatest thing in the world. And they were so cheap. They were like 20 cents more than a taco. So like, why wouldn't you get it?
Yeah.
So definitely Taco Bell and Brockport Diner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have been able to see like some differences that have happened to the town since you came to school here?
Oh yeah. I mean, and this is just from driving in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like I noticed they changed the road from like where, like if you're coming from 531 from like Rochester, like you used to have to make a right and then make a left onto a road. They just like extended it and then cut off that other road. So like, I'm sorry to the people that live on that road, but it was easier getting, in here. A lot of the buildings look the same though.
Okay.
Like driving down Main Street and like seeing the houses look like they haven't changed at all.
Yeah.
Right. Like it very much feels maybe like a slightly more fresh version than what I experienced here 20 years ago, but it still has that small town charm with like a college layer over it.
So what would you tell a potential student from New York City who's wanting to come to Brockport? What would you tell them?
Definitely. Like, listen, New York's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
The vibe and essence that is New York City will always be there. You can always visit. I can tell you from experience, it's only a 45-minute flight, a lot longer drive. Yeah. But the essence that is Brockport is just, it's a dope little town. It's very welcoming. It's very open. But here's the one but.
Yeah.
You will become desensitized to winter weather almost immediately. Yeah. Right. And this is something New Yorkers, and when I say New Yorkers, I mean people from New York City struggle with. Yeah. The minute that you get like an inch of rain or snow, New York City stops. Yep. Right. Brockport, it literally snows from like mid-October to mid-April. Yep. Almost every day. Yeah. It is definitely something that toughened me up more than New York City did.
Yeah. Did you try any like fun winter activities when you were up here in Brockport? Like, did you ever go skiing, snowboarding, sledding?
Yeah, no, of course. You get your group of friends on the weekend, and like when you're supposed to be doing work, and you go, explore everything from Syracuse to Toronto. Yeah. Right. Pretty much. Yeah. It was all good times and fun.
Good. Well, thank you, Mike, for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate you taking the time to come on, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.
Peace.